next Datelines.
Good morning, America. Breaking news. Special counsel Robert Mueller's questions for President Trump revealed what he wants to know about Trump's businesses, possible obstruction of justice, and that meeting in Trump Tower with the Russians. And the White House fires back over that new report that Trump's chief of staff repeatedly called the president an idiot.
Breaking overnight, this massive building, at least 20 stories tall, going up in flames overseas, crumbling to the ground. The race to escape. Did a gas leak cause it?
Here you are.
ABC News exclusive. Ashley Judd, one-on-one, as she files that bombshell lawsuit against Harvey Weinstein, claiming the disgraced Hollywood powerhouse torpedoed her career.
I was being maligned and defamed because I stood up for myself and I said, no, you may not give me a massage. No, I will not watch you take a shower.
Weinstein responding overnight to the interview and lawsuit, only on GMA this morning.
And drama on the dance floor. Adam Rippon stealing the show with this fierce cha-cha. And the surprise guest cheering on Tanya Harding. But two couples are sent home. Now they're here live on GMA this morning.
Live in Times Square, this is GMA with Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Michael Strahan.
A good Tuesday morning, May 1st.
Already.
All right. And what a premiere last night, Dancing with the Stars. They brought it.
It was great. They brought it. You know what? A great night.
Tanya Harding. Her movie mom, Allison Janney, was there to cheer her on, which must have been really nice to have her there to support us.
Academy Award-winning Allison Janney.
Some great dancing on the first night as well. We have a lot of breaking news to get to, including that news on the Russia investigation. New York Times has published a list of at least 4 dozen questions Special Counsel Robert Mueller likely wants to ask President Trump. They cover everything from Trump's firing of James Comey to collusion with Russia during the campaign and Trump's businesses. Our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas is in Washington with the latest. Good morning, Pierre.
George, good morning. Today we have more details on the kinds of questions that the special counsel likely wants the president to answer. And it's clear the stakes are incredibly high. ABC News has confirmed a list of roughly 4 dozen questions first obtained by the New York Times that describe the issues special counsel Bob Mueller wants to address with the president. The questions were developed by Trump's legal team after they recently met with investigators from the special counsel's office.
They met with Mueller's investigators, and they went through subject after subject after subject they wanted to ask about. And what the president's lawyers did is they wrote down all of these things, and they came up with these 49 questions.
The topics include the firing of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, the firing of FBI Director James Comey, and questions about Russia. Flynn, who pled guilty to lying about his conversations with Russian Ambassador Kislyak, has been cooperating with the special counsel. Among the questions Mueller apparently wants to know, what efforts were made to reach out to Mr. Flynn about seeking immunity or a possible pardon? And on the firing of former Director James Comey, Mueller likely to ask, when was the decision made? Why? Who played a role? And what did you mean when you told Russian diplomats firing Mr. Comey had taken the pressure off? These potential questions get to the heart of Mueller's investigation. Was the president trying to obstruct justice? In essence, was he trying to cover up any ties to Russians? And what does the president know about any possible collusion? George? Okay, Pierre, thanks very much. Let's bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. And not surprising, Dan, the president is already up and tweeting. Let's put this tweet up from the president right now. He says, so disgraceful that the questions concerning the Russian witch hunt were leaked to the media. No questions on collusion. Oh, I see. You've made up phony crime collusion that never existed. And an investigation begun with illegally leaked classified information. Nice. Lot to break down right there. First of all, the leaks came almost certainly from Trump's legal team.
Yeah, there is no question that these leaks did not come from Mueller's team, but did come from Trump's team. How do we know that? Because in the New York Times article, they make it very clear that this came from a list of questions that Mueller's team read to them. And so Trump's team created this list that was then leaked by someone outside of Trump's defense team. But no question it came from Trump's side.
And no question also that it covers everything you would have expected Mueller to be covering.
Well, including collusion. Right. I mean, you know, the president is saying there's no collusion, and yet there is a specific question related to Paul Manafort.
Yeah, let's put that up as well. What knowledge did you have of any outreach by your campaign, including by Paul Manafort, to Russia about potential assistance to the campaign? That is a question about potential collusion.
It goes to the heart of the issue that Mueller has been investigating from the beginning. You read these questions and you say to yourself, there is simply no way the president can sit down with Robert Mueller and answer all of these questions.
Why?
Because he's going to inevitably contradict himself at the very least, meaning questions about why did he fire James Comey? Well, on the one hand, he has said that he fired him based on he was thinking about Russia, and then at another time said it was based on a memo because of the way he handled the Hillary Clinton investigation. You could argue maybe it was a little bit of both, but if it was related to Russia, then he's got a potential issue.
And that suggests a potential motive for a possible leak as well. We've known that Trump's lawyers consistently, including the one that left John Dowd, had said, you cannot sit down for an interview. You leak the questions to convince the president. This is not an interview you can sit through.
Any rational person reads these questions and says the president simply cannot do the interview with Robert Mueller.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much. Robin?
And George, now to more reports of turmoil in the White House. Chief of Staff John Kelly, he's firing back over claims he called President Trump, quote, an idiot on multiple occasions. Our White House correspondent Cecilia Vega has more on this. Good morning, Cecilia.
Robin, good morning to you. You know this, we don't often hear publicly from John Kelly, but these reports have him so angry that he is pushing back, calling them, quote, another pathetic attempt to smear people close to the president and distract from the administration's many successes. Amid reports that his own chief of staff had been bad-mouthing him, President Trump took to Twitter to blast the media, writing, the fake news is going crazy, making up false stories and using only unnamed sources who don't exist. They are totally unhinged. According to one report, that is the same word John Kelly used to describe his boss. CNN, citing an anonymous source, says Kelly called the president unhinged after he made an off-the-cuff remark about wanting to pull troops out of Syria. And that's not all. NBC, also citing anonymous sources, reported that Kelly repeatedly called the president an idiot, once saying he doesn't even understand what DACA is, he's an idiot, we've got to save him from himself. Kelly so furious he instantly fired off a rare public rebuttal, saying in a statement, I spend more time with the president than anyone else, and we have an incredibly candid and strong relationship. He and I both know this story is total BS. One aide who was also in that immigration meeting tells ABC News he never said that, despite the president's recent praise.
And he's doing a great job in Washington.
They have had their differences. Sources tell ABC News the president was furious over the handling of domestic abuse allegations involving former Staff Secretary Rob Porter. At the time, Kelly made it clear he would be willing to step down. And former FBI Director James Comey told George Kelly also threatened to resign after he was fired.
He said he had seen the news and that he intended to resign because he wouldn't work for people who would treat someone like me in such a dishonorable way.
Now, sources tell me that the president has at times been frustrated with John Kelly for cracking down on who has access to the Oval Office. And certainly this is an administration where you can be in the president's good graces one day and out the next. Sources are telling us that Kelly and President Trump are in good standing, Robin, for now anyway.
Okay. Thank you, Cecilia. Michael?
All right, thank you, Robin. Now, the latest on that crisis at the border, where a caravan with more than 100 immigrants are seeking asylum. Overnight, Customs began processing some of those immigrants, mostly mothers and children. Our senior national correspondent, Matt Gutman, is on the scene with more. Good morning to you, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Michael. That first batch of 8 asylum seekers is right now being processed in the border terminal right behind me. Now, it's a legal process, and it can last for years. And for many of these people, it hinges on something called a credible fear interview. Basically, they have to prove to agents that they face persecution if they would be sent back home. And many are, in fact, sent back home. But right now, the 150 or so other migrants that you're seeing here, they're hunkering down. I mean, they've set up a tent city here. There's a kitchen over there. And what you're seeing here is an act of defiance because Mexican officials have told them to go to a shelter. They're saying they're going to stay here as long as it takes. They say after a month on the road and 2,000 miles of a trek, sleeping on the cold concrete here, so close to the U.S. border, isn't that bad, Michael.
And Matt, we should note that it is totally legal to seek asylum.
That's right. It is legal to seek asylum, and many people are denied asylum. But, you know, I've been to many of these countries where this happens from, and from talking to these people here, they say they fear from gangs who have either killed their family members or are threatening them. And in fact, a U.S. A study that was put out a couple years ago said that 82% of female asylum seekers face a credible fear of persecution or sexual violence against them. So for many of these people, the stakes here are incredibly real. Michael.
All right, Matt, thank you so much for your report. George?
Okay, Michael, thanks. We're going to head overseas now for a dramatic claim about Iran's nuclear program. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has revealed documents which he says are proof that Iran lied about pursuing nuclear weapons. That's just days before President Trump's deadline to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz joins us now with the details. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. Not only was the presentation dramatic with movie screen-sized graphics, but the way the Israelis got these documents was dramatic as well. Reportedly in a secret mission in January with Israeli spies seizing them in an overnight raid on a warehouse right in Iran's capital. But the bottom line, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this proves Iran lied about its nuclear program, and the U.S. agrees. But the documents predate the Iran nuclear deal of 2015. In fact, the White House quietly corrected a statement last night saying the documents show the Iranians had a clandestine nuclear program instead of have such a program. But Mike Pompeo, the new Secretary of State, says it still shows that the Iranians did not enter the agreement in good faith. And we've heard again and again the president say what a bad deal it is.
Right,
George.
but it does, as you point out, it does not show that Iran is violating the deal right now. The president has set his own deadline for May 12th to decide what to do about the deal. And of course, that could have an impact on what's going on with the potential summit with North Korea and their nuclear program now. And the president clearly saying where he wants this meeting to be.
He does, George. You know, Kim Jong-un must be asking himself, can you trust a country that signs a deal and then rips it up? On the other hand, it wasn't President Trump who signed the Iran deal, so this could serve as a warning to Kim that if Trump makes a deal with you, you better keep your end of the bargain, George.
Okay, Martha Raddatz, thanks very much. Also overseas, an investigation is underway into what caused this massive high-rise fire in Sao Paulo, Brazil overnight. The flames spread to two buildings. One of them collapsed. Yeah, you see it right there. That building was abandoned, had been occupied by squatters. Officials say as many as 50 families may have been living there. At least one person was killed. The cause of the fire unknown right now. Residents told the AP they think it could have been started by a gas leak.
Oh, my goodness. Now we're going to turn to embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt. Congress launching a formal investigation as he faces questions about how he used taxpayer dollars. Now, the whistleblower who says Pruitt lied to Congress last week is speaking exclusively to ABC's Kara Phillips. Good morning, Kara.
Robin, good to see you. And here's what we have that's new this morning. ABC News has learned that Congress is now expanding its probe into embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt over those allegations of lavish spending with taxpayer dollars. And lawmakers are now requesting more than 1,000 pages of documents from the EPA and an interview with Pruitt's former head of security. Now, this comes as an EPA whistleblower tells ABC News in an exclusive interview he was fired after reporting a laundry list of what he considered to be red flags.
Overnight, the whistleblower who calls his former boss a liar is speaking out. It was just days ago, EPA Chief Scott Pruitt telling Congress he never retaliated against staffers who defied him.
I don't ever recall a conversation to that end.
Was he just straight out lying?
Bold-faced lying.
Now, Kevin Chmielewski, a Trump campaign veteran.
He's great.
And later, Deputy Chief of Staff at the EPA tells ABC News after he raised concerns over what he considered to be lavish spending by Pruitt, a manager said he had to go.
Hey, Administrator Pruitt either wants me to fire you or put you in an office that he doesn't have to see you again.
Pruitt under fire for renting a room in a Capitol Hill townhouse tied to a top lobbyist for just $50 a night, and allegations he improperly spent tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money, including first-class plane tickets to Morocco. That's where Shimoleski, who was asked to approve the charges for Pruitt and one of his top aides, says he drew the line.
I refused to do it, and once again, I think that was some of the beginning of the retaliation.
Congress now summoning Pruitt's head of security, Nino Parada, about alleged death threats used to justify Pruitt's high-priced 24-hour security detail.
And Robin, President Trump still standing behind Scott Pruitt, while the EPA chief says he has no plans to resign, even though 170 members of Congress, including some Republicans, want him out. Robin?
High number there. All right, Kira, thank you. Michael?
Now to that fallout from the White House Correspondents' Dinner and those jokes about the president's team that some say crossed the line. This morning, comedian Michelle Wolf is doubling down, saying she wouldn't change a word. ABC's Adrienne Bankert is here with the details. Good morning, Adrienne.
Good morning to you too, Michael. It was what she said about the president's staff and also how she chose to deliver some of what many are calling raunchy punchlines. She's not apologizing and doesn't have any regrets.
From headlining the White House Correspondents' Dinner to making headlines.
I'm here to make jokes. I have no agenda. I'm not trying to get anything accomplished. So everyone that's here from Congress, you should feel right at home.
This morning, Michelle Wolf's on the defensive in her first interview after fallout from Saturday night's stand-up. The comedian telling NPR's Terry Gross she was just doing her job.
I wouldn't change a single word that I said. I'm very happy with what I said, and I'm glad I stuck to my guns.
Wolf admits she wasn't aiming to please the audience, and though seemingly unfazed, she says she didn't anticipate this much criticism.
I wasn't expecting this level, but I'm also not, I'm not disappointed there's this level. I didn't want to cater to the room. I wanted to cater to the outside audience and not betray my brand of comedy.
She's getting the most heat for jokes aimed at White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies.
I think sometimes they look at a woman and they think, oh, she'll be nice. I'm not afraid to talk about things. And, you know, I don't think they expected that from me.
And at the same time as the controversy, Wolf has a new weekly Netflix TV show, which the comedian has described as making fun of and offending everyone. That's set for the end of this month. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Adrienne. And I've been to that dinner before, and some of these jokes are very cutting. And Michelle Wolf, that's what she does.
It's been kind of an arms race for the last several years,
It really
escalating and
has.
escalating and escalating.
You're right about that, George. Now let's go to Rob with severe weather coming to the plains today that could bring, what, strong tornadoes and large hail?
Yes, we had hail yesterday. We had strong winds as well, Robin. 50 to 65 mile-an-hour winds yesterday. I-80 in Nebraska shut down for a time. A big pile up there, including a fatality. A rare dust storm happening across that area. And then hail in the same state, Broken Bow, Nebraska, with Petey golf-size hail. And we probably see similar action today with maybe a greater threat for tornadoes. We get a little bit more in the way of dynamics, a little bit more in the way of humidity, damaging winds from Salina up through Lincoln, Nebraska, Omaha as well. Tomorrow, a little bit more widespread, more dynamics as well, getting down and through Texas, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, up through Kansas City. This is where we start to bring in the higher threat for, I think, tornadoes during the day tomorrow. Thursday, even more widespread. Some of the details are murky here, but it is an ongoing threat really throughout the week. Time now for your Tuesday trivia, brought to you by CarMax.
At CarMax, we buy all the cars.
All the cars?
All the cars.
Old cars?
Yes.
New cars?
Oh, yeah.
Sports cars?
Indeed.
A big old boat-like car?
Permission to come aboard.
What about a car that's all...
I don't see why not.
What about, let's say, I don't know, a purple van with a painting of a wizard just shooting lightning out of his fingers, riding a unicorn, sneezing rainbows?
Definitely.
I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah, I figured.
Temperatures today nearly 10 degrees above average. This is going to be our warmest period, folks, since going all the way back to late October in terms of consecutive days, 80 degrees or higher. A little taste of July, but with the lower humidity. Look at today at 80, Wednesday 86 your high temperature, and close to 90 degrees on Thursday. Do think that we could see a few neighborhoods hit 90 on Thursday. Some rain comes in late Friday into early Saturday morning, but that really is our only chance. The weekend not bad, mostly cloudy, mid-70s.
Here on GMA, that ABC News exclusive with Ashley Judd, her new lawsuit taking on Harvey Weinstein, claiming he sabotaged her career after she refused his advances. Now his response this morning.
And new details on the Golden State Killer case, what we're now learning about the suspect's ex-fiancée and a possible motive.
The typical vacuum head